Hi everybody, welcome to the garden. It is a beautiful day. It's the end of February. The sun is shining. It's supposed to get up to 41 degrees today, and I'm really itching to get into the garden and do some stuff. But unfortunately, Mother Nature still hasn't given us a break from this winter weather. Let me turn you around and show you what's going on. Can you see? We still have tons and tons of snow here. Tons of snow. So I think what we're going to do today, we're going to go inside and do some seed planting because my Ulito order came in. So let's do that, and then we'll go down in the basement and I'll show you my seed setup and how I overwinter my plants. Come on, let's go inside. As tempting as it is to be outside in that sunshine, it's much more important that I'm in here starting my seeds right now because I only have another 12 weeks before my frost date. So now's the perfect time to be starting seeds. I don't think my setup is any different than anybody else's when it comes to seed starting. I have my seed starting trays. I've already filled them with pre-moistened soil, so they are ready to go. You can see I've got them all lined up over here. I also have some horticulture vermiculite. This is going to go on the top. That can help with fungus growth. Sometimes we get a green fungus that grows on the top of our seeds, especially if we keep them a little bit too wet. This can help control that a little bit. Of course, if you overwater, you're still going to get that fungus. I also have some seed starting mix that I'm going to use to put on top of my seeds when I've got them ready to be planted. Now my seeds all came from Gelitos today. I did a video on their seed catalog and why I love their seeds so much, so please be sure to check that out. If you are looking to get seeds, however, at this point, I would not order from this company. They are out of Germany and it's taking extra long to get the seeds because it is their busy season. But put this on your calendar for next year. Get their catalog so you can spend next fall looking through and dreaming about your seeds. I typically like to get my seeds ordered in January. This year I didn't. They came a little late because I ordered late, but they're here just in time. As I mentioned, I have 12 weeks before my frost date. Other supplies I'm going to use. I have, for my labels for my plants, I cut up mini blinds and I use them. I recycle them to use as my plant labels in my trays. I have a Sharpie marker, and of course, I have my seeds. So we're going to plant just like everybody else does, put the seeds in, cover them up, and then we're going to take them downstairs and put them under my grow lights. So you get to see my setup down there. It is important to properly label your seedlings. So I like to get my labels done first. I write the name of the plant and the date that I am planting. And I do this on both sides. And the date helps me to know whether my plants are germinating at the right rate that they are supposed to. My plan is to plant 8 different types of seeds today, and I don't need to make a whole tray of each variety of plants. I don't need that many plants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into each tray based on their planting directions and when I think that they are going to sprout. Because I am going to be putting a humidity dome over the top of these, and once they all start to come up, I want to remove the dome. But what do you do if you have some seeds in your batch that don't come up for, we'll say, a month, but you have others that come up within 7 days? You run into a problem with that, which is why we're going to plant all the same type of growing conditions in the single tray. Now, how do you know that? How do you know how fast your seeds are going to come up? Ulitos has the answer for that. When you buy seeds from Ulitos, they're all codes. There's different codes for their germination rate and how you want to take care of it. And that code is right on the package or on the seed pack. And this is a code 15. Most of my plants in here today are a code 15. I have one that's a code 16, and then I have 2 that are a code 8. So I'm going to plant all my code 15s together. The 16 is very similar to the 15, and the code 8s need a little bit more of a cold treatment, so we're going to do something special for that. But by them labeling their seed packets this way, it makes it much more efficient for me when I'm starting to put my seeds in my trays. We're going to start this tray by putting Columbine and Digitalis in here. I'm going to do half and half. One is a code 15 and one is a code 16. Growing instructions are very much the same, so I think we're going to be okay just combining them into the same tray. Both of the seeds are kind of tiny, so we're going to want to be careful in planting them. And what I tend to do into my hand, and then using the edge of the seed packet and the crease in my hand, I usually just push that one seed. You can put 2 seeds in here, but I think I'm just going to put 1 in each little cell until I have 36 of these planted. While I'm planting these up, let me read to you what a code 15 and a code 16 are. 15. Rapidly germinating. Keep seed in constant moisture, not wet, with temperatures of about plus 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Seeds must be covered thinly. Do not cover very tiny seeds, but tightly press them into the earth. Keep in cooler conditions after germination occurs. Code 16. C15, with the exception of germination being slower and more irregular. This poses no problem. That's why putting 15s and 16 together have always worked for me. So this should be a perfect tray. Now that we've got our Digitalis planted, we're going to make sure we put our label in so we know that this side has been planted. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this seed starting mix and just very lightly put it on top. And then to help with that potential fungus, I'm going to put a little bit of this vermiculite on as well. What's really nice about the vermiculite is it does show you that you've got seeds planted. So you know not to put more seeds in this area. And like I said, it can help with green fungus if you start overwatering. I tend to water from the bottom of my trays. I don't like to water from the top. But there, that one's half planted. And that's the steps that we're going to take to do all of the seeds. So I've just got, what, 7 more varieties to do? Here's some of the images and stats on the seeds that we're planting today. The 2 different varieties of verbena that I purchased were both a code 8. These perennial seeds germinate very irregularly over a long period. Lower temperatures of less than 5 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit, are very effective. Seed trays should not be discarded prematurely. Constant moisture must be maintained. In short, this means that those verbena seeds would be the perfect candidate for winter sowing. And I think you can tell by all the snow that we still have, I still have enough time to do sowing in milk jugs. Unfortunately, I have terrible luck with winter sowing. Luckily, Yolitos offers what's called gold nugget seeds. These are seeds that have already been treated, so you don't have to stratify them or give them that cold treatment. The Verbena bonariensis is one of those plants that typically reseeds all over people's gardens. Because I mulch so heavily with leaves, I usually like to start some from seed every year. And this is one of my favorite plants because it's tall and it's very airy. It can be mixed in all different parts of the garden. It can be placed towards the front, middle, or back. And the butterflies love it. Verbena Bampton is new to me, and I think in the fall it's going to look like a big mound of purple baby's breath. Since I messed up and I did not order the gold nugget seeds from Yolitos, I have to give my seeds a cold treatment. And I thought I would do it down here in my old greenhouse. Now this is an unheated greenhouse. It's never been heated, and right now it's just a pile of building materials. More on that in a future video. Anyway, I have planted the verbena seeds in here. I've also put some other seeds because I thought, why not give it a try? I'm going to do an experiment. I found some old seeds in my seed stash, some of the ones that we already planted. I figured let's do an experiment and see how these do out here in the greenhouse versus what's growing down in the basement. Using the same method, everything's the same. It's just that out here it's going to get that cold treatment. The trick is going to be I need to remember to come out here and water these. And hopefully we won't get 2 feet of snow, so I have to trudge carrying water out here to do that. But anyway, I will keep you posted on how this experiment goes. It should work just fine because after all, this unheated greenhouse is just like a great big milk jug to do winter sowing in. Welcome to the seed starting station down here in my basement. It consists of an old metal rack that we actually found along the side of the road. There's 4 different shelves. Each of the shelves is at a different height. And that's because as the plants grow, they get real tall. You don't want them to get tangled in the lights. So I find by having them at different levels that I can adjust according to what my plants need. Each of the shelves has some grow lights in it, and I can adjust those grow lights by simply removing a screw. Takes a second here, and then I can reposition it wherever I want it to be. And it's important that you maintain level and consistent light across the top of all your seedlings. That's going to prevent them from stretching and reaching out and get really long and leggy. Now when it comes time to put my seedlings in, my seeds in, I do use a humidity dome over the top of all my seeds until they start to germinate. Now, the other thing is I have a tendency to overwater. So I'm going to watch these for the first couple of days and make sure that there's some humidity gathering inside this humidity tray. There should be enough moisture down here in my pre-moistened soil that's going to help those seeds to germinate. You know, that moisture is going to help break open that seed coat. If there doesn't appear to be any humidity coming out of the soil, I'll add some more water to the bottom. I don't like to water from the top until the seedlings are actually up and germinating. Again, it's because I overwater, and sometimes I end up with that green mold, and that gets a little crusty, and it's hard for the seedlings to break through that. So for me, I find that watering from the bottom is very helpful. I do have heat mats up here if I decide that I need heat mats, but I don't think I'm going to need any for any of these that we're starting right now. And hopefully this will do the trick. With the 4 shelves that I have, if I do need to bump these plants up to bigger sizes, I have additional shelf space here that I can do that. But hopefully by the time they need to be bumped out, especially because the majority of these are perennials, I should be able to bump them up in size and actually start placing them out if our weather ever starts getting nice in the next 8 weeks, or 8 weeks from now, I should say. But this is it. This is where I start all my little seedlings. It's not a very unique or expensive setup, but it works. If you've been following along on my channel, you know that I like to try and overwinter some of my plants, and I do it down here in the basement. And this is the setup that I use. I've got grow lights attached to the ceiling, and then I use whatever I can to put the plants on. Right now, this year, I'm using a whole bunch of old totes, but you could use a table, you can use whatever you want. I have shelving units, whatever I can find that's going to keep the plants up close enough to the lights, and doesn't really matter if it gets wet or water on it. But I have my Boston ferns here, I have some begonias, I have spider plants that actually belong to my mother. Those things are probably, oh gosh, easily 30 years old at this point. I have some asparagus fern, and over on the other side is where I have my Coleus. My Coleus plants are doing pretty good down here. I think in about 2 weeks, we're going to come in and start taking some cuttings off these and rooting them in water so that we've got some Coleus to put out in the garden come spring. but I need to start boosting the fertilizer on these guys a little bit so that they start growing a little bit longer and taller so I can get some of those great cuttings off of it. So that's probably going to be in about 2 weeks, maybe even a month, because Coleus roots so quickly in water. Even if we do it a month from now, that still gives them 8 weeks to root in, and that should be just fine. Now, in case you're wondering where I get the water to water my plants, this is it. We don't have a sump. We don't have that much of an issue with high water that we have to have it pumped out. That's because we have a daylight drain. It's almost kind of like a French drain that goes all the way around the perimeter of the house, and the water collects here. There's a hole, and then there's a pipe that goes down. Because our property is a little bit on a hill, we were able to have that done when we built the house, so we don't have to worry about having an electric pump and possibly it going off when the power goes off. But anyway, all I need to do is grab a container, reach down here, and I pull up the water. And then I can mix in some fertilizer with it if I want to do that, and then water the plants that way. This is basically just well water. It's what's in the streams, and it works absolutely perfectly to water my plants. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me as I got my hands dirty and did a little bit of seed starting. I'm curious, does anybody else overwinter plants down in their basement? How do you do it? Put your comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And if you can get out into your garden, get out there and have some fun.